Hey guys, welcome to CJ Reads Books. I'm CJ, and today we're going to be talking about the series Firefly Lane and Fly Away by Kristin Hannah. Let's get into it. So before I get too far into these shenanigans, I want to remind you that any series posts will have spoilers. So spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We'll have spoilers. Okay? Okay. So the first book of the series is Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. Now, I watched the Netflix series before I read the book. I only watched like 4 episodes or something. In fact, I'm pretty sure I ruined it for my honey because she didn't get that far. But oh my gosh, I see while reading the book, I see the characters on the screen, reliving it. It was casted very well. But the book, more importantly, followed 2 besties, Tully and Kate, and opposite as all can be, but they became best friends out of the necessity for needing each other and not needing to be lonely. They were best friends pretty much until their adult life and when Kate dies, and they remain best friends now in the second book too, which I'll explain later. So the first book follows their best friends. Of course, best friends fight. They steal boyfriends. They have, coitus with people that they like, etc., all that good stuff. So there was a point in time where they weren't talking, but they made up, of course, like best friends do. You begin to see that Kate is pretty much a puppy that's following her owner, Tully. Tully wants to be a reporter. Kate goes and does reporting with Tully, even though Kate doesn't really like it. Tully introduces Kate to her future husband, Johnny, and all 3 of them are like the 3 musketeers kind of thing until Tully decides that she needs to go further in her career and in her life and writes them off, etc., etc. Kate ends up having 2 kids with Johnny. Well, 3 kids, because the second set is twins. And, they have a good relationship, but not at first, because Johnny appears to be with Kate only because Kate loves him. But later the feeling gets mutual. So it goes through that. About 2/3 of the way in, Kate discovers that she has cancer, and they spend the rest of the book fighting cancer, going through treatments and stuff like that. Her teenage daughter doesn't know what's going on, but feels really bad because when mom was well, she didn't treat her all that well and stuff like that, which will carry through in the second book as well. At that time, Tully wasn't talking to her, and it shows just the guilt of all the characters in that they didn't treat this woman right when she was alive. But towards the end of it, all is forgiven, and they have to learn to get on without her, which comes to the second book, Fly Away by Kristin Hannah also. And this book, oh my gosh, it starts off exactly where you left off. Exactly. And it follows 3 perspectives, which I didn't know at the time because I don't read blurbs or anything before I read a novel, because I kind of want to maintain that mysterious surprise to it. And I don't want to back out of the novel beforehand, because I've done that several times. But anyway, so it starts off where we left off. There's 3 different perspectives. So they follow 3 characters. One is Mariah, who is the teenage daughter that is really confused, and lots of shit happened with her that we'll go through. Miss Tully, who is the best friend, grieving best friend that's supposed to take care of said family, said daughter. And the last one is Cloud, whose real name is Deborah, who is Tully's mother, who Tully gets abandoned from. I forgot to say that in the first book. So Tully is abandoned when she was a child. Her mother comes in like twice or three times and always says that she's going to take her and to live with her, but never does. Tully was raised by her grandparents on the same street that Kate was raised. So that's why they're best friends. And it just follows all three perspectives. Now, usually I hate POV switches. I think they're annoying as heck, and I can't stand them. Not at all. But this one was written so well, so it follows several different storylines, which normally pisses me off and makes me really confused, but it was good. Like, this one was great. So it keeps jumping back and forth in the present story. Tully gets in a car accident and ruins herself. She is in a coma, all that good stuff. And then it jumps back to what happened prior to. So after the funeral, and we follow Tully's life as she suffers through addiction. She goes through losing her best friend again and again, and having that sense of responsibility for her best friend's daughter, who she feels like she can't take care of because she's never had a mother growing up. And not being able to take care of her stuff leads to the downfall of her career. And soon enough, now we see she's present day in a coma and nothing is going right. Through the process, though, when she is kind of balancing between the veil of real life and death, she sees Kate. And whether it's a hallucination or she really was on the other side for a little bit, Kate talks to her. And Kate is the one that kind of coaxes the story out of her, which I thought was really cool. She's like, tell me what happened. What happened? And she's like, I needed to hear that from my best friend. So she tells her, and it jumps between the POV of Mariah, who is her kid, and Cloud, who is her mother. So jumps to Mariah's story. Mariah was about 16 when mother passed. And in the story, in present day, she's 20. So a lot of stuff goes on. She graduates from high school, but Tully takes her to live in Seattle with her if she promises to go to therapy and stuff. She meets a terrible, terrible, terrible teenage boy in therapy, and he's in love with her and all that stuff, but really just convinces her to steal for him, and she works hard, and he's a poet. Whatever. I hated him from the first. But when she finds out that her godmother is in the hospital in a coma, she immediately rushes over. And I feel like she dumped the boyfriend pretty quick after that, even though they don't say it. But it highlights her struggles in the fact that she did, trigger warning, there is self-harm. And I'll put that in the front too. There is talks of self-harm. She cuts herself because she can't deal with the emotions of losing her mother and like thinking that everything is a fight and all that stuff. And she hasn't read the journal that her mother had written while she was sick for her. So it was just disaster after disaster after disaster. And when you're that young, you kind of, you turn to drugs, you turn to alcohol and all that stuff. So she was on the downward spiral until she realizes that her godmother was in the hospital. So there's that storyline. Cloud, aka Deborah, is Tully's mom, who abandoned her and kept abandoning her through life. Her story was actually, I think, the saddest. Because what mother wants to be away from their child all the time like that, And they have their own reason. She has her own reason for being away for that long and stuff like that. And it's a lot that plays into what Tully's situation is, which is addiction and all that stuff. So she battles through addiction and she finally gets out of it. I think 2 years before Tully is hospitalized. And when Tully is hospitalized, she overeat up and she took care of her. She went to the hospital to visit her and then put her on home care for a year. We find out that she had been in a coma for 1 year. Lord. And she finally started moving around and stuff like that. It was great. It was a emotional roller coaster, and I loved every minute of it. I cried so much because it followed the story through and through. It was like I never even let go of the first book because it was so amazing. So this story followed into that one. I gave this series a 5 stars. Easy. Easy 5 stars. She is a phenomenal storyteller, and The Women will be my next book because that is the book that she wrote that everybody's like gaga over. That is my review. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. All that helps my engagement go up, 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 up. But if you got more, got a Patreon down below. Patreon is for free members, but if you pay to be a member of my Patreon, you'll get immediate updates after I edit them. So every video after I edit them, I put them on my Patreon immediately. So you'll get to see that immediately. It's $4.99 a month. Even further down below, I have an Etsy shop, and I sell blind dates with a book. Check it out if you're interested in that. And finally, you can choose to buy me a coffee down below. But if you can't do any 3 of those, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the engagement helps my channel go up. So thank you for being here. With that being said, thank you for my one Patreon. Robert Willen, you are awesome, and you deserve lots of high fives. So thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's so much fun. I love reading, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.